Since thought is a subtle energy, we can do that to other people. If you think bad things, remember what I told you about one of the laws, thou shalt not murder thy fellow man in thought or deed? Can you imagine maintaining your balance every day and what the planet would be like if we had to do that? That's the rule book that we got back there, the spiritual laws, and I've broken them all, and you probably have too, and they say we're out of balance. So what do we got to have to do? We have to figure a way. Unfortunately, the information that I have right now is not good to share with you, in that we have gone too far and we aren't going to be able to save the planet per se, but there's going to be some of you that are going to be able to go through the days ahead that are scheduled on both levels. The scheduling is the planet is going to do some cleansing on its own. We got the Earth getting ready to do some major shifting. I'm talking about earthquakes. I was sharing the one about in San Francisco. There's many psychics that have been telling you about the oceans moving and the volcanoes. Everybody knows and it feels there's something going on. I don't know the degree and where they're going to be. I have some feelings about some stuff at that point. I know it's going to be gradually increasing, so there's going to be incredible chaos on the planet. At this minute, I want to open it up to questions on anything that you may have, and I'll try to answer you what I know or I can share. Does that sound like a fair plan? Yes, ma'am.
My first question would be, do you have any sense of a timeline?
The question was, do I have any sense of the timeline? As I came over here today, I picked up USA Today magazine, and I put a copy of it, USA Today paper, on the front page of it, and what it is to do with Russia. And right next to it, I have some newsletters I'm going to give to you about Russia. They are planning to attacking the United States. It could be any minute at this minute. When would be a good time to attack?
Winter time?
Tomorrow.
Sunday morning.
Tomorrow night. Think about this. I'm just saying, it could happen at any time. The Soviets have nuclear submarines. This is my sources. Submarines on both sides of the United States. They have satellites above the United States. They call them cosmospheres. Each one of them have 5 nuclear missiles aimed at the main cities of the United States. We couldn't take them out because our military has been charged. We have set everything into motion, so we no longer have a military. We have a police force. It's police action. It's not defense. We have taken down all of our nuclear missiles. My son is a nuclear physicist. He's on contract with, works for Bechtel. They're on contract with the Soviets. He's dismantling the 30-year-old nuclear missiles in Russia right now, but they've got the brand new ones. Last week, the Russians made a sweep. They have one that's launched in the back of a 50-foot trailer. It goes down the road at 50 miles an hour like our highway trucks are. Stops, 10 minutes later, it launched, and 6,000 miles the missile went and hit its target. We aren't even doing that. We don't have any defense. In fact, our illustrious President Clinton signed into law that we'll take 30 days before we respond to a nuclear attack. What does that mean? Kind of all over. Now, I also got to tell you a couple other things you need to research. Now, everybody hears about the United Nations and what's going on. The UN and the Secretary General is the figurehead for the UN, which is sitting on Rockefeller property. Now, David is a real interesting man. David owns 4.5% between his own personal holdings, his trust holdings, and the Chase Manhattan holdings of 90% of the world's corporations. 4.5% is voting control of 90% of what you think and do and act and buy. Voting control, one man. Now, there's a book that Dr. Coleman wrote called The Committee of 300. That's a conspirators hierarchy because people heard about, well, there's 300 people in the world that supposedly control the world. He names them, how they got into power, and then you can understand a little bit more. The books have been out a long time. Henry Ford wrote a book. Actually, he published a lot. He has his own that he's put together too. I have some of them in my catalog, and he'll describe who the world leaders are and what they can do. Frankly, I don't even get focused on them anymore. Some of them are still my friends, and I still talk to them. I mean, it's interesting what they are. They just figured that they won the game on the physical dimension, but we all know that's only part of it, isn't it? Since we are nothing more than a spirit having a physical experience, hey, let's do the best we can. Next question. Yes, sir.
You may not know, but Portland is consistently heavily sprayed in the air by who knows what. Do you have any information on what chemtrails are all about?
For you that are interested in the contrail situation, rather than me do anything, I brought a video tonight that's 2 hours long by 4 doctors, eminent people. It's back at my table. We'll go into the chemtrails and what they speculate on what the situation. I've heard several stories after looking at the video. It's not that they're not doing it. My own personal belief is that they're setting up other viruses and things into our body. Some of my sources are saying, yeah, they're doing that so that we will become allergic to certain things. So when they come back and respray us again, our body, the antigens will set up and coagulate the blood. What does that do? The Soviets, by the way, well, Larry Harris, I had, as a friend of mine, Larry Harris and Bill Levitt went to Las Vegas, and you all read about that in the paper a couple of years ago. I'm responsible for that mess. They were arrested because they were investigating what the Iraqi people were doing. The women were bringing over the biologicals in their vaginal cavities, bringing in anthrax and bubonic plague. And they set up cells throughout the United States to distribute it. They now have got what they call the triple cocktail that's developed with the Russians. It's anthrax, bubonic plague, and smallpox. And at that point, these things can be released in the air, and you have 3 days to live. My suggestion is, according to Larry, the only thing that'll do any good immediately is tetracycline. And you can get tetracycline by going to your veterinary store and say you got a sick dog. It's the same stuff. And you can get it. And it's, the dosage is, I believe, 500 milligrams, 8 hours. Don't take it too long, but if you hear anything's going on, better have some tetracycline around because it's a massive, broad-spectrum antibiotic. Anyway, that goes in conjunction with the contrails in order to basically look at population control and bring us down, make us sick. Real easy to bring a sick society down and very asleep, don't you think? Yes, sir.
So, your people in your power game, they're doing what they're doing. How are they protecting themselves?
The question was, how did the people in the power game protecting themselves? I sat in with the governor of Colorado one day at lunch, Dick Lamb. And Dick and I were discussing some other things, and he mentioned that he was happy because he had done his job and he got his ticket. Now he's finishing up his tour as the governor of Colorado. And I said, what ticket? And he said, well, I got my ticket. And then they explained to me there is a underground facility in Australia called Pine Gap that the Rockefellers built for 35,000 or quote chosen people. He got his ticket. I didn't get mine. See, I was a little upset. So they think they're going to be out of harm's way. Now, I also want you to I look things that kind of crazy. This week has been, once you read these books a couple of times, I want you to look at the big game. If you were at the top of one of the Committee of 300 companies, and I'm going to name one, Boeing, and you knew that there's going to be something major in Seattle, and you got a bunch of executives, what would you do? Oh, really? What's going on with Boeing?
They're getting out of Dodge.
See, that's I'm sitting here, it's the first thing that I said, what's going on? Then I find out the head of Starbucks is leaving, what party's going on? The head of Amazon's going, right? They're moving everything down to Kentucky. Did you know that? No. Oh, things are happening, and it's right in your papers. See what I look at different than you might? You see, I'm looking with the players. The guys inside, they have a presentation that you do out in front of the public. We're nice guys. We're going to do this for you. We're going to take this for you because you're not smart enough to do it yourself, right? But if you're my buddy in behind the scenes, hey, something's going to happen. Now, they've already said that they're going to be moved by what, the end of the year? Somebody asked me about timing. What do you guys think is going to happen? Now, watch the Middle East. You hear anything about Arafat right now? Have you heard anything?
No.
What's going on over there? Arafat and his whole group and Israel's all up in the air because they're having, people are dying every day. You don't hear it in the paper right now, but lots of them. So you know that's the point that they're going to start it in the Middle East, because the plan was to get a war started in the Middle East. Isn't that what it says in the Bible? We've got to follow the game. We wrote the play, so you guys follow right in. So you want to get in the observer mode of the big picture. How do you get in the observer mode? Read those 3 books about 3 times. Get the genius frequency so we can change the ending of the story. Seriously. Because since thought created all this, and we are all part of the creation's thought, and it's out of balance, we may, timing-wise, by the year 2012, which is the next 12 years, if you haven't got it turned around, we don't have a planet left. We're going to be just like Mars. You're going to see a lot more pictures of ETs and a lot more spacecraft and everything, because there is a government plan to unite the entire planet against the common enemy, and that's the ETs. The guys that could help us, they want them to fight away because evil can only control this dimension, the 3rd dimension. Think about it. And they only want to control a smaller amount because they can't take care of it. The more education we get, the internet's a real bane to them, because a lot of knowledge is going out there to a lot of people. Okay, open. Yes, sir.
Did we actually go to the moon?
The question was, did we actually go to the moon? No. When in my office, I'm sitting here talking on the phone to the guy with the video thing in NASA's headquarters in Houston. He says, George, watch what I'm putting into the screen. And you saw it on the TV. Now, I've had this verified by a lot of other people, and we have a videotape, and I have a few of them back here. It says NASA mooned America. Let me give you some funny things, because I couldn't believe how much we had. They said the bigger lie, the bigger it is to get to the people. And why did they put up this big facade? It's kind of like Kennedy killing. If you want to know that, I'll tell you what happened. Anyway, I'm sitting here talking to the guys about the NASA stuff, and I said, why did they do that? And they said, well, remember, the Soviets sent up Sputnik. And Kennedy says, we got to do something better than anybody else. Our whole people got together. So they got together $21 billion on this project that went to the intergroup to build up this thing. We'll just send them to the moon. Never been there before. And we'll get on a lunar lander, which has never flown anywhere. Right? The problem is that our dear space buddies, when they get on a suit and everything, it won't even fit in the holes in the lunar lander. And if you read and you look at it, you can see it yourself. And if you go there, there are no plans or specs for the lunar lander that we spent $21 billion for. There's none available. That's a major firm. They would be available. Everybody, they have it on display. Don't you think they'd have some plans and specs on it? I got plans and specs on all. I got the plans and specs on the Hound Dog nuclear missile. And I can't get plans and specs on a lunar lander that had never flown and then perfectly takes off after it's been landed. Never flown before, and 2 guys are sitting down there on the ground, and on Life magazine on the very front page shows both of them in the same picture and the flag waving on the moon with no wind. And you can see the reflection in the one screen, the photographer in the back, and the rock on the bottom that still has the little number on the side that belongs to the prop. Did you notice that? No. The bigger the fraud, the easier it is. Get that video. It's called NASA Mooned America, and you'll know that we didn't do it. I have a friend of mine who's flown in alien spacecraft that we have. And he's CIA also. We were discussing all of that. Not that we haven't been outside of this system, inside alien craft, because how did they get out of here? Remember the Van Allen belt? What's the Van Allen belt? High radiation. Remember what they told you in school? Takes 2 feet of lead. 2 feet of lead to get through that to protect you from the radiation is what they told you. And yet they're telling us, say something up there. Not that we don't go out and send our guys up around the planet. We do that, but not up into outer space. Otherwise, we'd been back. Right? We haven't been back. Make more sense. Why didn't they put up a mirror up there so you could see?